Foster Car Finance, proud sponsors of the How Are We Famaland podcast. Haha, it's right, lad.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the How Are We Famaland podcast with myself, Jazz Dickens, and my co-host,
John May.
And a very, very special Best up again, I do it all the time.
We've never got it right.
I won't be giving Jazzer any TV.
Yeah, that's...
There we go, looking at myself.
We can't even start again. Our very special guest today, my friend Lee Eaton, boxing promoter. How are we, Lee?
Very good, mate. How are you?
Yes, good.
Nice to meet you, Lee.
Nice to meet you, mate.
My name's John, by the way. The last guest didn't know Jazz's name, so I just wanted to get that out the way.
Is that Reggie boy, Lee?
Reg, should come and say hello? He's got the ump.
Yeah, he's right. Yeah. So Lee, we started this podcast and getting right into the podcast. We're enjoying it, and I thought there's no way we can't get yourself on. I don't know much about your background, Lee. Start at the beginning or start where you want. But the first question that we've got for you is a little bit about yourself. Whereabouts are you from, and how did you grow up?
I'm from Essex, basically, obviously, as you can tell by the voice. I've literally got into boxing through really chance, really. A good friend of mine, John Wayne, was Commonwealth champion, WBC international champion, and that always used to be helping him with his camp and stuff like that. I used to go to all the shows, be around all the shows and stuff. And then a week before one of his fights, a friend of mine was meant to go to his fight, but he sadly fell down the stairs and passed away. He broke his neck and passed away. So the last conversation we had was about boxing. So I thought, what can I do? A year later, on his year anniversary, we done a boxing show in memory of him, and it sold out. We had 2 girls, best friends, fighting each other, about 5 sets of friends fighting each other. Great night. Sold the venue out, nearly 1,000 tickets, I think it was. Raised about 10 grand for charity. I thought, after that, hang on a minute, if I can raise 10 grand for charity, I can help a few quid here. so I've done another show, done a prize fighter show, sold that out, made myself a nice few quid. I thought, yeah, this is a bit of me. I properly enjoyed that. I've always been a big boxing fan. I always followed it religiously, buying boxing news, looking at all the news on the internet and stuff like that, just proper following, proper little fanboy and that. So then I just started getting into it. And then started going to obviously helping Carl Greaves out with a few of his shows and stuff like that. Ended up doing about between 60 and 75 shows, unlicensed shows. Done loads of shows. Just kept learning, making mistakes, learning and stuff like that. And then January in 2016, I ended up at John Wayne's fight versus Tommy Martin, where he defended his Commonwealth title. I met MGM at the time. Had a good chat with him for a couple of hours. Annoyed the fuck out of him, talking shit. But listen, it got me where I am today, so it was worth it. And then, just had a good couple of chats through the year. Had a good couple of meetings. And then went from there, really. Started MTK London. January 2017, we launched MTK London. March 2017, done our first show at Brentwood Centre. And then it's just snowballed from there, really. Just literally started off not knowing a lot about pro boxing and just learned all my way through. Ended up, obviously, doing the matching, just everything. It was quite hard at first because it was just MTK London shows were mainly just me doing most of it. And then when we started getting bigger, then obviously I went into being the actual MTK promoter. Started working with Ian Ritchie, legend, the most miserable man you ever meet, but he's a legend.
Shout out to Ian Ritchie.
Started working with Ian, and then we just snowballed from there, really. And just from what MTK's done since it started is unreal.
Do you know when you was in the unlicensed scene, or is it the white collar or
unlicensed white collar scene.
Well, semi-pro as some people call it.
Semi-pro, as Gary Matthews likes to say. Yeah,
semi-pro. It's a nightmare, isn't it? The tickets, Lee, and that must have been your responsibility. Was it your full responsibility?
Yeah, listen. From when I'd done them shows, everything was completely mine. Do you know what I mean? Like there weren't no commission or anything like that. Everything that went on that show was me. So. Obviously, I done it all properly. I always had doctors there, ambulances and stuff like that, done proper pre-fight medicals, and the fighters had medicals after. And I done all the matching. I had a team around. After a while, I had a team around me. But at first, I done absolutely everything. So it was a massive learning curve, and it's helped me to get me where I am today. So I'm thankful for all them shows, and I'd never ever not be thankful for that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, supposedly if you when you are in that business and you're finding out for yourself what it's about and you haven't got no one really, did you have anyone to guide you through this process?
Do you know what? When I first started my shows, Carl Greaves, obviously you know Carl Greaves, David Avaneshan's coach, had a good win the other day. Carl Greaves, I used to ring him up for a bit of bits of advice and stuff like that. So Carl guided me through the first few shows, and then obviously once that happened, then I just started flowing. And then you just learn on the job, really. And to think them shows, some of the stuff you see on other shows and stuff like that, I've done mine as professionally as I could, because listen, if anything went wrong on them shows, it all comes down to you. And you don't I've seen some terrible things on other shows, like people not having ambulances, people not having doctors there. Do you know what I mean? Things like that. It's just you're playing with people's lives at the end of the day. So I always done things as good as I can. Sometimes I lost myself money by putting more things in place. And I always made sure that things were done properly. And that's just the way it's always been for me. So to do it all properly from them days, and then obviously having the British Border Control, it was a big shock, because I had to have someone now to say, look, this is the rules and stuff like that. I winged it for the first year, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Absolute winged it, and then obviously just learned and just cracked on with it.
Yeah, because you've done a white collar yourself, John, haven't you?
Yeah.
And it's just a different audience whatsoever, and the people can get quite rowdy, can't they?
Just love a beer, just go mad, don't they?
I've seen white collar boxing fights where people have jumped in the ring and stuff like that, because
I've seen people get out with a beer in their hand.
Like the sun's been getting battered or something. Yeah.
How hard is it, Lee, to match someone on a white collar show? I know I'm going on a little bit about the white collar, but is it hard to match people, Lee?
Do you know what? It's not any different, really. It's as hard as it is now, because you've still got, if you're going to do it properly. Listen, we've all had shit matches, and people freaking, you've gone on people's words and stuff like that, and then they've gone in and knocked the kid out in the first round of that. That happens. That could happen in pro boxing. It has happened in pro boxing. You go on people's words, but you've got to be really, you've got to look at for yourself, and you've got to see sparring videos. You've got to see previous fights and that. In the unlicensed game, some boys have had 600 fights. Some of them fight on a Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Every week, and you just think it's absolutely mad. You can never know someone's real record in the unlicensed game.
Yeah, I suppose it's tricky, isn't it? Because you can get people there. Because as a professional, we sign up to get punched in the head, don't we, Lee? And we know the risk. Yeah. We know the risk we run, but some people just do not understand the danger they're getting themselves into, because they're going into it for fun and for charity, don't they, Lee? A lot of people live on, they do it on the back of charity, but really, they want to be champion of the world, don't they?
Of course, yeah. So they think that, some people think that where they win these belts and stuff like that, obviously people think, I'm a champion and all stuff like that, but listen, they get in a pro ring, there's levels, you know what I mean? So it's hard for people to, where they're boxing and that, they just want to be the best they can, and they think they're better than most things. And when they do turn over into the pros, because you do get a lot turn over to the pros, they don't go nowhere, because obviously there's levels to boxing at the end of the day.
The fella I fought, he'd had 5 fights before I'd fought him. But I still won.
Semi-pro fight?
You won.
Semi-pro?
He got beat 4 times and he got beat the 5th time by me. But he was more experienced, but I was better. But anyway, moving on.
Do we have what you call, not like, we call them journeymen, don't we, Lee? But really, the saviors of boxing,
like I said, the boys fight Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's a couple of fighters. There's one boy. I know a boy called Will Cairns. Yeah, I said to him, like, "How many fights have you actually had?" He went, "I couldn't tell you. I've literally just not like. Sometimes I fight 3 or 4. Sometimes in the same night, he'll box twice.
Wow."
You know what I mean? So he's having 3 or 4 fights per weekend, every weekend. You think that knife add up?
Well, when you think, Lee, like about it, what are the benefits for him to stay white collar? Because in my mind, I think, why didn't you just be a journeyman as a pro and then?
Yeah, but listen, some of them I've spoke to and said, look, but then some of them, who knows? Would they pass a medical? Are they good enough? Because if you go into the pros, you could be a good white collar fighter, but you go into the pros, you're getting stopped every week. Your license will be revoked straight away.
Of course, Lee, yeah. The first professional fight that you promoted, Lee, who was it and where was it?
Brentwood, the night. I think it was St Patrick's Day, 2017. I'm pretty certain I had a Southern Area title as the headline act on the first show. It was at Brentwood. And then I think a couple of fights down that year, we had David Price headlining at Brentwood in a 6-rounder.
Wow. Was that on behalf of working with MTK, was it, Lee? Or
yeah. Let's have a look. Let's get the old box rack up.
It's just mad that it all started by accident for you, though, by just doing like a charity white-collar boxing fight.
I've always been a big fan of boxing and that. Obviously, I was around the boxing game. Obviously, Wayne was on like Eddie's shows, Frank's shows and stuff like that. So I was always in the camps, always around the events and stuff like that. And then it just by chance, I'd done my own event and it just snowballed, really.
It's great the way people fall into stuff by accident, isn't it? Like, make a success out of it.
The first show I'd done, it wasn't a Southern Area. It was an eliminator, I think. Where is it? My headline fight, one of our boys got beat. 2 seconds. There we go. So Taylin Jones versus Nick Gemman. Matt McCarthy. Colin Lyons was on there. Paulie Upton was on there. Freddie Turner. Richie Gray, Mikey Saki and Billy Allerton. So yeah, we had 9 fights in the first show.
I remember the Upton brothers, Lee. They were good, weren't they? Were they Irish? Yeah. And the same politics line? Was that the thing?
There was 3 of them, weren't there?
Yeah. Yeah, so what's it like, Lee? You've got your own fighter and you are trying to make a way and your own fighter loses. Is it a setback?
Do you know what? As a matchmaker, obviously it's the worst job in the world because when you're doing good matches, everyone's praising you. And then when one of your fighters loses, you think, like, fucking hell, was a shit matchmaker. Like, they got a lot of stick the other day for Josh Warrington to say, look, it's shit matchmaking. Yeah. But if Josh won, it would have been perfect matchmaking. Yeah. So it's a no-win situation for a matchmaker. But obviously where I'm quite close to a lot of our fighters, obviously when they do lose, it's shit. It ain't nice to hear. Sometimes you blame yourself, but this at the end of the day, it's boxing, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Then you working for one of the possibly the biggest company in the world, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's we were talking there about how you got into this and how you might have fell into this, but you work so hardly, don't you? You and Ian as well. Shout out Ian. Work so hard.
You've got a graft in life, haven't you? So Ian thinks I'm lazy, but that's Ian. He's got so well about him.
Yeah, but people see the big shows, don't they, Lee? But they don't see the sacrifices that you make. You're always away from your boy. You're a family man, aren't you?
Yeah, me and Ian at one point, I think we've done 28 shows in a year. In I think 2019 or 2008, but 28 weekends away from our families. It is tough. It is very tough. And then obviously at the minute you're away 4 or 5 days at the minute because of these restrictions and lockdown and stuff like that. So it is hard. But listen, we all enjoy what we do. We love what we do. And when at the end of the night, once you've had a great show, you sit back, you think, yeah, that was the bollocks.
Yeah, is it nice going home when it's a success? I know what it feels like, but what's it like for you as a promoter when you do go
Yeah,
away?
listen, 100%. Do you know what? Like sometimes when you fight like on the golden contract, obviously you were MTK and Ryan was MTK. So with that, it's not one of our boys has lost and one of them's won, but you're still over the moon for one of the fighters. You know what I mean? So it's a bit of mixed, obviously, emotions on days like that. But when your fighter goes and wins on a big fight and stuff like that, there's no buzz like it.
Yeah, but one question I had, Lee, is about you listen to the old managers and they say they have to develop a network, and the promoters, they have to develop a network of some people who they trust and getting the information on opponents. How important is that in your job, and how reliable is BoxRec?
Listen, BoxRec's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable system. And our jobs would be very, very hard without it at the minute. I don't know how they used to do it years ago. It must have been bloody very, very hard. But BoxRec's a great system. You've got to do, a lot of matchmakers just look at BoxRec and match off BoxRec. Go, oh yeah, he's got 4-0 record. He's got a 3-0 record. Yeah, that'll do. But that ain't how you match. You know what I mean? That's just being a booker. Like you need to be able to, you need to sit there and watch the fights and watch him and go, oh yeah, and do your research, because one boy, the other. Reg, good. Yeah, the carrot. Yeah, he's got a bag of carrots.
Get him on.
Yeah, so like sometimes you got to look at the boys and then you go, all right, so he's 5-0, 6-0. And then you go, actually, you got to look into what he done as an amateur, because some boys, if they've been an elite amateur and won an ABA title and they're 4-1 or something like that, you got to look at it and go, oh, actually, he's a lot better than that because he's a pedigree. And so it's the hardest job. It's the hardest job in the world, because one shit match can fuck up a boy's career. So you've got to be very, very careful with things like that.
Please excuse my ignorance, but what is BoxRec? Tell me what it is.
BoxRec is a database of everyone who's at every fight they've had as a professional goes down, and who they fought and how many fights the fella who he's fought has had too.
All right,
so it just goes back
and
all the way.
A lot of their amateur records on and now, so it's an unbelievable system.
It can build a better picture for you for when
you can look someone up who's fought in the 1920s and see how many fights he's had and
really?
who against
Yeah.
and everyone he fought against.
So BoxRec records, that's what it's
Yeah.
Okay.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
People can't lie about their records because it's on there. You can't lie about your professional record because it's on that system.
But the record can be deceiving, can't it, Lee, as well?
Yeah. Listen, you got boys that are 20-0 and never box anybody. You look at it and think, Jesus Christ. But then people think, oh yeah, he's 20-0, it'd be a good match. No, because say one of our fighters, well, I'm going to match you with a 20-0 kid who's never boxed anybody with a winning record, and you go beat him in a round. That ain't a good match, because he's just boxed absolute garbage cans. You know what I mean?
Do you find anywhere in the world, Lee, who's got the most padded records in the world going by BoxRec?
Mainly European countries. So I ain't going to start slagging countries off or end up with death threats and stuff. But no, there's plenty of padded records. UK, there's loads of padded records. Yeah. Loads.
But by going away to South America, though, Lee, I realised it's like we've got journeymen who are tough and they survive, but they don't fight journeymen, a lot of them people. They fight people who are crap.
Well, in America, you've always got, when you look at America, they've always got like 10-0 versus 10-0, but the B side of the 10-0s never box anyone, so they're padded. So there is a lot of padded records out there.
Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not really reliable, really, as if you don't know who the person is or you haven't got.
So people might.
You got to do your digging.
So people make the right moves early on in the career to just pack it out, if you like, just to make. And
that's your job, Lee, isn't it?
Misleading.
There's a lot of fighters out there, a lot of people that can pay to get themselves in positions and stuff like that. You've seen it time and time again, but it's boxing at the end of the day, isn't it?
I don't want to go too far into it, Lee, but it can be.
I don't want to go too far.
It can be a ruthless business, can't it? Some boss nights you've had, Lee, haven't you? In the sport of boxing, what were your best nights?
One of the best nights was obviously the first ever show I'd done. That was a buzz. Then we done York Hall 2008. Oh, I think it was July 2018. We done the York Hall for the first time. Sold York Hall out. That was unbelievable. And then my best night as in a box, obviously as boxing, was obviously Mick Conlon at the Falls Park in Belfast, where you got 10,000 people absolutely screaming, pissed up, dancing, singing, and like the ring walk and that. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, I seen highlights. Did you see?
No.
Fighting in a park in Belfast.
Oh, I have
open air.
Yeah, I know. I've seen it. Yeah, I know what you mean.
So Lee orchestrates all.
Another great night was Lee McGregor versus Cash Farouk. That was a bit rowdy. That was literally sold out, full of angry Scotsmen. So yeah, that was good.
Yeah, so you've done very, very well. You've been very successful, haven't you? How many world titles have you won? And who can you give the people who are listening who's on your?
I've only ever been involved in one world title fight on that one of our promotions, which was in Kazakhstan. So in England, we've never had a world title fight. We've had WBC silvers and stuff like that, but won purse bids for some Scouser the other day for some world title. I didn't really do that, to be honest.
Oh, so I just assumed, but you'll have worked with all these world champions, haven't you?
Yeah, listen, obviously we've had world champions on our show. Obviously, a lot of fighters we've had like your Martin Murrays and stuff like that. Not world champion, Rocky Fielding. Obviously worked with loads of Olympians. Mick Conlon's, Paddy Barnes's. The list goes. If I'd like to do that one day. Write a list of actually who's boxed on the shows that obviously I've been involved with, and have a look at some of the names. So I might actually end up doing that over the next couple of months.
Have you had Billy Joe?
No, not Billy Joe. No, I've had him commentating. That's about it.
That counts. Yeah. So if you had the choice, if you was going to build a fighter or work with the world champions, I suppose there's pleasure in both. What would you find? What do you find more? What appeals more?
Building a fighter, 100%. Matt, that some of the building a fighter, matching him from day one that's what gives me a buzz. Obviously, love to work with fighters like your world champions and stuff like that. But building a fighter and knowing you've helped him get where he is in his career is a better buzz than working with an already world champion.
Yeah, that must be some buzz, like to just follow some career. Because if they go off to be really successful, you're part of that and you enjoy it probably as much as them.
Yeah, I was talking with Andy Lee the other day. Obviously, Paddy Donovan, obviously he's 6-0 now. And Andy said, obviously, we was talking, and he said, oh yeah, you've matched all these fights. Well, except for one of them. So if Paddy goes on and wins a world title or something like that, I've been involved in a certain amount of fights now. It's something good to look at. Do you know what I mean? There's loads of fighters that have turned over with us that I've matched them and promoted every single fight of theirs. So it's good to obviously be involved in that. And do you know what? To be what MTK, what they've given me and helped me achieve some of my dreams and keep achieving, it's been unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? I'm thankful for everything they've done for me, but obviously just got to keep working hard and keep cracking on.
Yeah, same here, Lee. I'm very grateful for what MTK have done for me. A lot of people, they took a bit of a shellacking on that documentary what they made on BBC, but I'm very grateful. I have seen the best of what they can do, Lee, and it was unfair, wasn't it? And a lot of people didn't get to see two sides.
Listen, what MTK have done for me as a person, and what they've done for a lot of our fighters. A lot of our fighters wouldn't be doing what they're doing now if it weren't for MTK. So obviously there has been a lot of shit press, but listen, MTK are still doing what we're here to do, and that's put on good boxing shows.
Yeah, they're saving so many careers, aren't they? Is there any other management company, Lee, who are putting on shows? Do you know what I mean?
At first, when I first started, it was just a management company, and then they said we're putting on shows to get out to help the fighters progress because there wasn't enough shows at the time. So the only reason they started doing shows is to get their fighters out, and then it's just snowballed from there.
Yeah, people don't see this. We are doing a lot
creating
for
opportunities, isn't it? Yeah. It's just widening it for everyone.
What opportunities that they've created for a lot of fighters is what they wouldn't get elsewhere. Even like so, March the 19th, we've gone from just doing shows to help our fighters get out, and then on March the 19th, we've got a European title against two top 10 in the IBF rankings. You got Lee McGregor and Kareem Garifi, an unbelievable headline fight. So it shows you what like hard work and dedication from all the teams got to, and then we're putting on good shows like that.
Yeah, that is going to be a really good fight, isn't it, Lee?
Who wins?
Oh, I haven't seen that much of McGregor. I know he's a really good fighter, but I've seen Gravy. He come over for the first time to England and he fought
he got Farag out, didn't he?
Yeah, he beat Farag. I think I can't call it, Lee. It's one of them fights. I'm not sitting on the fence.
I'm sitting on the fence.
I'm not actually sitting on the fence because I couldn't care who thinks what, but
yeah,
it's just like I cannot call it. I think they can both win by knockout. That's how I see it going, Lee.
A lot of people have said that, and I believe it can happen. That can happen. So I don't think it goes the distance.
Yeah, I think the age is definitely with McGregor.
Yeah.
So we see what it's. I think it's like we'll see what.
If Lee does win, to win the British, Commonwealth, and European in under 10 fights is an unbelievable achievement.
Wow, that is unbelievable. The only fighter I know to do that was Kevin Satchel. Kevin Satchel done the same thing.
Was that under 10 fights?
Yeah. Oh, well, it was 10, I think it was 10 fights on his 10th fight. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same as Lee. Kevin Satchel was a great fighter. Yeah. He retired undefeated, didn't he?
Retired undefeatedly, yeah. He lost all his titles back to back without fighting for them. It was a sad situation, really. Sad story. It'd be nice to get Kev on the podcast. Moving forward, Lee, what's next for you? And also, is who's your prospects coming through now we can look out for?
Next for us is March 12th. Lewis Crocker versus Dennis Ilbay. Gary Cully versus Victor Kotichigov, Isaac Lowe, Carl Fowl, Jordan Reynolds making his professional debut.
Yeah, look forward to
a couple of others. March 19th, European title fight for Kareem and Lee. Maxie Hughes, who's been an unbelievable fighter during lockdown. Another fighter is a lot of fun, took his chances. Now he fights for the British title. Got a lot of up-and-coming prospects on all the shows coming up. But to be honest, to go through the list of fighters and up-and-coming prospects we've got them in there, I'll end up forgetting them. But listen, Piers O'Leary boxed the other night, unbelievable talent. Mark McEwen. We've got coming up this show's Adam Azim, Jordan Reynolds. So what? I'll forget them. I need the list in front of me to go through. But there's some unbelievable fighters coming up. James McGivern is a very good fighter. I'm really excited to watch him go through through to his career.
You must be so busy, Lee. You've also got a meal prep business, haven't you? A meal company.
Yeah, I've got iPrep. I've been going since it's been going a couple of years, but me and my friend bought into it in June. So yeah, we're flying at the minute. January went nationwide. Now we're hitting record numbers week in, week out. So hopefully that carries on. Can nick a few quid then.
Yeah, brilliantly. Yeah.
We were saying 28 shows in a year. That's like more than 2 a month.
We have cut down now. We're probably going to. I think we'll be at about 15 to 20 shows. So we have cut down a lot, but instead of doing little shows, we're doing just. Instead of like we're budgeting for 2 shows, we're putting it all in one, so it's a better show.
Yeah.
Is the lockdown as a big part on the shows, Lee?
Do you know like when we was at a show in March on the Tuesday, just about to do the draw for the light heavyweights, and we got the phone call to say all shows are off. And do you know what? felt like the old world had ended. It was heartbreaking. So the first few months was horrific, not having no shows, not having no plans or anything like that. And then we started getting shows. We started in August, I think it was the first week of August, the 11th of August. So, and since then we've been busy every week. Obviously, we've done 3 shows in August. Then we had the Golden Contract final. So we've had shows. It's been busy. It has affected it because obviously you've got a budget for a show, and then normally the crowd, having a crowd adds a budget to that show, so you can put better fights on. So when crowds do come back, I'm looking forward to putting on better fights. Yeah. Listen, we're putting on cracking fights anyway, but it's just a bigger. You can go put a few more different prospects on and stuff like that. So we want to keep all our boys active, but at the minute we're a bit limited.
It must be so different not having crowds. As a fighter, I didn't feel much different, Lee. Do you feel anything?
No. For the first 3 or 4 or 5 shows, I sat in the corridor, didn't even sit. I sat in the corridor and watched it on my phone because I felt I wanted to watch it. I wanted to watch it, obviously, but I just didn't feel like the buzz of sitting there ringside, like crowd cheering and stuff like that. So I just sat in the settee in Wakefield. There was a set as you come in, there was a settee. I just sat on there and watched it on my phone.
When we look back on this time, Lee, have you been the promoter who promoted most shows during that lockdown we had?
I think pretty top rank. In America, it was top rank. They done unbelievable amounts, but I don't know. I think Frank and Eddie. I think everyone done sort of the same amount of shows.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot, Lee, about this system, and we always have a conveyor belt, don't we? The amateurs turn professional, the good professionals make it to the top. Do you think we've missed out from in between the good amateurs and the professionals? Do you think we're going to miss a generation of good fighters?
You know what I think we're going to get? We're going to get a lot of amateurs just turning over rather than waiting to go into win an ABA title or something like that. Because I don't think you're going to get amateur boxing back properly till the end of the year. So then you're looking at 18 months missed. So they were probably only going to have another year in the amateurs and then turn over. So it's put all the amateurs behind on their careers, sort of thing.
Yeah, so you're going to get this influx of pros now, are you?
A lot of the people that was going to go to the Olympics, there's a few of the podium squad that was going to go to Olympic qualifiers and not going to get the chance now. So they're going to turn straight over. So you'll see a good few pros coming out of the GB squad, I think, over the next couple of weeks.
I know, as business sense, it might make the best sense, Lee, but I think for the fighters coming through now, I would like to see it stay the way it is. Like everybody fights against each other, even like 1-0 fighters.
That's our plans. The way on some shows, Carl Fowl is boxing on March the 12th. He was scheduled to fight George Rhodes 6-1 in his debut. He's an ex-GB boy. He didn't want to just fight and he wanted to go straight in. Obviously, George Rhodes he said he's injured yesterday, so we've got to find another. But that's the sort of fights you're going to see now, because you're going to see people wanting to take risks rather than sitting around. And all these boys, Mark McEwen fought a 6-0 kid the other day. I was really worried about it, thinking, hang on, have I matched him too soon? Does he need another? He went in there, stopped the kid in 2 rounds. So it's giving the boys that edge and giving them that chance to perform and show that what they're about.
Yeah, of course. And I think it also weeds out the blaggers, doesn't it, Lee? Because there's a lot of people in the sport as well telling people, I'm a professional boxer. They're standing by a nightclub bar telling a woman, usually auntie, I'm a boxer, but it weeds out the blaggers, doesn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of people are being found out to say, oh, yeah, I can do this for you, can do that for you as a fighter. A lot of managers and stuff like that. But listen, over this lockdown, it's proved who can do stuff and who can't. Because some fighters have been off for over 12, 14 months now, do you know what I mean? So, and they've not even had a sniff of anything. So, a sniff of action or anything. So it's going to be interesting over the next few months how things pan out.
Yeah, I was.
Do you think you'll lose boxers because of lockdown? Do you think they'll think?
Yes. You'll see a few retirements.
Because Because like that, if you're not training, you've got nothing to look forward to. I can imagine you could just slip back. And it's like to come back.
I do wonder how many now have gone, but we just don't know about it. Do you get the fighters, like, not mentioning any names, but do you get fighters who give it the big and then you ask them, do you want to fight? And they just say no?
No comment.
That's the best answer, isn't it?
I can't comment on anything like that.
Yeah. Before we we ended that, Lee, appreciate your time. What's coming for you in the future, and what are your plans?
Just listen, plenty of shows, plenty of good fights, and the new IBF featherweight world champion.
Yeah. Boop boop.
What date is that? Sorry.
You can't give it out, can we, Lee? No comment?
No comment.
No comment, okay.
There'll be news soon. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Jazza needs to get a few pound off, I think.
Yeah. I think it's it.
Big Jazz.
Also, Lee, where can we find you on the social media and stuff like that?
Lee Eaton 88 on Instagram.
Cool. Bosley. Okay, then, Lee, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate to know you're a busy man.
Mate. Good to speak to you and catch up with you.
Nice to meet you, Lee, as well.
Nice to meet you, mate. Take care, yeah?
Cheers. Thank you.
Lee.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Faster Car Finance provide a smooth, hassle-free way for you to apply for car finance and to get the vehicle of your choice. Whether you have good or bad credit, no deposit is required. A decision is reached within minutes, and one of our dedicated finance advisors will be available to discuss your requirements. Apply now at www.fastercarfinance.co.uk.